Hello, hello. Come on in. I don't know that I've officially gave this live that I do every Wednesday with Dr. Lysa a title or anything. But welcome, welcome, welcome. We will be missing Dr. Lysa today, but that's okay. I got some valuable information for you. This week's topic. We got a few seconds before we get started, but this week's topic is transitioning well, keys to keeping your house in order. Transitioning well, keys to keeping your house in order. And boy, do we need to make sure our house is in order, right? And so this platform, at least the videos for that we do every Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's all about when you're facing a challenge financially or in your career, right? You've been laid off. You're thinking about transitioning into a new career, what that looks like, making sure things don't fall apart, right? Helping you to navigate being laid off, how to stay afloat, land that next job that is better than the last one that you had, all of that good stuff. So we're committed every Wednesday at 7 to help you navigate those waters and, transitions in life, in career, in relationships, in your faith, or leadership. They can be unsettling, right? Because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. It is shaky. It's new for you, but how we manage these seasons of our life, because they're just seasons. Okay, let's just be happy about that. It's just a season. It's not going to last always. There's an expiration date for seasons. Fall doesn't last 365. Summer doesn't last 365. So know that these are seasons, but they can determine how you manage the seasons in your life. Absolutely determine the stability that you'll see, the growth that you'll see, and get this, the future peace that you'll see. See, if you're going through a transition and you're not facing it, and you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and you're not making wise choices, you will cause additional distress on you, right? But how you manage the seasons in your life, that layoff, how you manage relationships that maybe you have to break off from, will absolutely determine your stability. It'll determine your growth, and it will determine your future peace that you'll have. So keeping your house in order. Dr. Lysa normally will go over the career side of things, right? Imagine you getting laid off and you're like, okay, now what am I going to do? Like, what, Lord, what are you doing here? Right. But I'm going to talk about the financial part of managing and keeping your house in order. I'm going to talk about the financial, the mortgage and real estate side. So the one thing we have to do, the first thing is face the financial facts. Listen, if you don't face the facts, now you can look, the facts are the facts. Okay. I've gotten laid off. Okay. I have more bills than money. Those are the facts. Now, our belief is different. Our belief is this is just a season. I'm going to get through this. Things are looking up for me. I'm going to land the best job that I could ever think, dream, or imagine. I'm going to start my own business. It's going to be thriving. You know what? That company gave me, they don't know what they did. Okay. They just set me on fire and things are looking better for me. That's our belief. That is what we're believing. But you have to face the financial facts, right? Figure out your finances. Don't ignore what's really coming in. So you want to look at your income, you want to look at your credit, you want to look at your savings, you want to look at your debt. Face the facts. Okay, what you don't address, it doesn't just go away. Okay, you have to address it. I think about my student loans, right? I had, well, initially, and I was paying minimum or just a little bit over minimum. I took out my first student loans in, I think, 2001, maybe. I think it was 2000. Yeah, it had to be about 2001. Well, up until not too recent, I had over $136,000 in student loan debt. Okay. And so, talking about facing the financial facts, I always believe, I was like, Lord, I was trying to get a higher education, and I did. Um, I completed, got my degree in accounting. I was super excited, but I was like, Lord, this is a burden, right? While I can pay it and I'm making the payments and I'm paying as agreed to pay, Lord, you know what? I believe that you can erase this. Well, the thing about it is, and I wasn't always thriving. I remember when I was laid off. I remember when I didn't have as many clients as I desired, right? But I had to face the financial facts that I have an exorbitant amount of student loan debt. Now, I know there are other people that have more than me, but $136,000 plus, that was a lot. And so I had to face the financial facts. And guess what? I had to apply for certain things. A school that I went to actually went under. They had some really, really bad practices. They would promise you all these kind of things and promise that, we got companies, they hire all of our graduates. And, hindsight is 2020. I'm young. And so I'm like, how can you promise that another company is going to hire me? You're not the one hiring me, so you cannot force another company to do anything. But anyway, you learn that when you get older, you get wiser, right? And so, but in me facing the financial facts of me being in student loan debt, I applied. If there was a provision that I could apply and have them look at my student loans, see how much I paid, and see if I qualified for it to be totally wiped out. And had I not faced the financial fact that I was in student loan debt, I wouldn't have taken the initiative to apply for this program and get it totally wiped out. And to this day, that is, one of my blessings, that God wiped it out. He didn't do it immediately. I had it in about 4 or 5 stages. They wiped out a little and they're still reviewing and wiped out a little bit more. And I say all that to say you have to face the financial facts, right? You face your fears. Uh, because about affordability, about interest rates and market shifts, don't uh, what you used to afford, you may can afford right now, and it's quite all right. Remember, I told you this is just a season, and how you navigate and manage this season is going to really determine the peace that you have in your life. So we want peace, right? So if there's some things that I used to be able to do, if I used to be able to pay my mortgage and then pay a little bit extra to my mortgage, maybe right now I can't do that. We don't beat ourselves up, right? We pay as agreed. And we say, you know what? It's a matter of time. I'll go back to business as usual, right? You also want to be fully informed before you make big moves. Okay. Many people, they immediately want to, oh gosh, you know what? I can't afford this house. I don't have a job. Hey, wait a minute. Before you say, oh my gosh, the only option for me is to sell my house, you don't know what kind of programs are out there. I remember one of my clients, they had been laid off. They were about to lose their house. I'll never forget this. And I says, "Oh, I can help you." And I literally got them a program where I reduced their mortgage to, you won't even believe, they had $1 mortgage for an entire year. Their mortgage payment each month was $1. And luckily, They had city mortgage because I was like, you don't want to send this payment in the mail. It's $1. They went to their local city bank branch and paid their mortgage. And so if they were not facing their financial facts that I got this mortgage, I cannot afford, and I need help, I'm only receiving unemployment, I have a family, they wouldn't have been able to be in that position, ultimately keep their home. And later down the line, they decided to sell. However, they were able to navigate that challenge. But what we don't face and what we ignore doesn't mean it goes away. You're going to have to face it one way or another, right? So you want to be fully informed before you make any big move. So before you sell, a lot of times you may be looking like, oh, I can't afford this mortgage, how am I gonna make the payment? But if you sell, where are you gonna go? If the rent is just as high as the mortgage payment or higher and can potentially go up every year when they get ready to renew your lease, maybe it's better that you stay where you are. You contact me at 714-914-7254 and let me see what other options there are for you. Okay, so number one, work keys to keeping your house in order is facing your financial facts. Number two, you want to scan and sort out your situation. What does that mean? Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you refinancing? Are you relocating? You want to look at all the different options that might be out there. So you and get as much information as you can. You're sitting, if you're watching this platform, you're watching it because you're trying to get as much information as you can so you can make an informed decision, right? You want to sort through all your stuff. Cluttered home doesn't close quickly, right? And so a cluttered home also can affect how you think about certain things. If you're cluttered, things are everywhere, it's a little chaotic for you. So you want to make sure that you scan and sort out your situation, right? Sorting out your strategy, how you're going to move, what next steps you're going to make, what you're not going to do, and then set clear goals. Just because you laid off doesn't mean you don't have goals. Maybe your goal is, you know what, I'm going to land employment. I'm going to do it in record time. I don't care that most people are saying, my particular industry, they're not really hiring. Maybe perhaps your skills are transferable. That's where you will go to Dr. Lysa and she will help you out with that. But you want to make sure that you are setting clear goals and kind of sticking to them, right? Don't beat yourself up if it don't happen. Let's say you got a goal. It reminds me of losing weight, right? If you have a goal to lose 50 pounds in, I don't know, a year's time or 6 months time, and you only lose 35, okay, you're not going to beat yourself up. You didn't get to the 50, but you done lost 35 pounds. Celebrate that. Be happy for it, about that. The other thing is you want to prioritize your paperwork. If you're purchasing, if you're refinancing, if you're doing a modification, because, you've had a loss of income, you want to prioritize whatever approval that you need, right? You may be consolidating your debt. Be careful. There's a lot of scams out there, but there are legitimate companies that do offer programs where you can consolidate your debt. But you want to prioritize your any kind of pre-approvals, right? You want to prepare your paperwork. So you want to get your pay stubs, your tax returns, your bank statements. You want to get everything together because when you decide to make that step and you're asking somebody to help you, they can't help you if you don't provide the necessary information. I have a client for years, an exorbitant amount of tax debt. It's pretty scary. Nearly $500,000 in tax debt. And I told him, look, I know somebody that can help you with this. They can do this. They used to work for the IRS. They have an excellent resume. However, the person could not help them. Why? Because they could not provide all the documents that was necessary. So you want to make sure you position yourself properly, provide all the necessary information to help keep your house in order. Look, we want to help you, but if you don't provide us with the tools and things to help you, you don't provide us with your paperwork, your profit and loss statement, your bank statements, and all of that, we can't go and fight for you and get the best deal for you. Okay. The next thing to help us keep our house in order. We're facing financial difficulty. We know it's just a season. We want to clear out the clutter, right? Both physically and financially. See, when we do better personally, physically, it helps us to do better financially. We just show up different, right? When you wake up in the morning and you're getting dressed, right? It's something about when you like the outfit you got on and you think you're looking cute, you just show up different. And so we want to make sure that we clear out the clutter in our lives, right? That's helping us keep our house in order. If you're selling, for instance, you're staging your home maybe to sell it faster. You're cutting out unnecessary costs, right? If you're laid off, you're cutting out unnecessary costs. You're like, you know what? Maybe I used to dine out 3 times a week, but I don't have a job right now. We need to get to the store, get some groceries, and we need to cook, right? It's fine. It's just a season, right? And we need to clear up. It's perfect time to clear up any credit issues. A lot of times when we're working, right, some of the I don't want to say less important things, but some things kind of fall by the wayside. We don't take it as a top priority. However, when you're laid off, it's a good idea to start clearing up any credit issues that you may have, right? So you can take a hold of that. So clearing the clutter increases our confidence, with ourselves and with a lender or any professional that you're dealing with, right? If you're clearing out the clutter and you have your mind on straight, when you talk to Dr. Lysa and she's trying to help you navigate, starting a new career, you can do that with a clearer mind, a better mind. You can think about all the things that you do at work and all those skills. But if you got everything going on in your mind and it's racing, you cannot come to the table and receive the valuable information that professionals want to offer you because you're all cluttered, right? The next thing to help us to keep our house in order, while we're facing a financial challenge, whether it's due to a death, divorce, illness, injury, layoff, or natural disaster, you want to build better boundaries. So many times this goes by the wayside. You got to build better boundaries. So you want to budget wisely. One of the boundaries is don't live beyond your means. Okay. Let the people that can buy the $1,000 purse or want to buy the $1,000 purse, you don't need to buy a $500 knockoff so you can look like the person with the $1,000 purse. Like, don't buy beyond your means. Okay. I just don't believe in having my bag be worth more than what I can put in it. Some people, hey, if that's what you do, is fine. There's no condemnation over here. However, just budget wisely. Again, a part of that is cutting out things that you don't need, or buying things unnecessarily. And also be honest with your wants. Good morning. I almost said good morning, Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for tuning in. Do you want to be honest regarding your wants and your needs? We're talking about building better boundaries. Know the difference between your wants and your needs. A good way to figure out, you know what? Can I live without this? Is sometimes just sit on it. Listen, I went to Ross and I love going to like Ross and Marshalls and Burlington, especially in different cities, right? Some of them are good and I find really good deals. Other ones I'm like, oh, my friend teases me. I say, oh, they don't have a good buyer. Because stores have buyers where they go and buy the product. And I'm like, oh, they have a horrible buyer at this store. And so then they got X'd off my list, right? I don't want to go back there to that location anyway. But I saw this sweater, right? And I don't need any more clothes, okay? I don't need any more clothes. I have a lot of clothes. And even when I got rid of so much during the fires, I still have more. However, I go to Ross. And why go when you don't need anything? But listen, this is my truth. So I go to Ross not too long ago, and I saw this brown sweater. Oh, and it was so pretty. And it was trimmed in cream. And boy, and it was a chocolate brown. And I said, oh, that would look good on me. Okay. I love this sweater. And I just said, Lacey, you can't fit nothing else in your closet. Like you don't need that. You don't need that sweater. So I left, and I guess I've been talking about it. Now this didn't happen like probably about 3 weeks ago, and I'm still talking about it. So I'm still thinking about this sweater. But I left it at the store. And I told my friend, and she was like, I can't believe you left it. It's one of your favorite brands. You didn't get it? When you go back, it ain't gonna be there. And I said, you know what? I didn't need it. I wanted it, but I didn't need it. And sometimes to help us keep our house in order, we got to know how to just walk away. Now, I'm not telling you I don't still think about the sweaters, because clearly I do. I brought it up tonight, right? And how beautiful it would have been. But you got to know the difference between want and needs. And I didn't need it. And it's okay. You can walk away. It's not the end of the world. So a good test is if you see something, and if it's not a need, sit on it. Wait, don't make impulse purchases, right? Walk away. If it's something that, oh, okay, maybe you can do, or if you go back, you may say, you know what, if I go back in a month and I sit on it and it's still like pricking at my heart and I can afford it, then I'll get it then, but I'm not going to do impulse buying, right? So that's helping us keep our house in order. And then we want to balance our emotions. Okay, we all go through things. Okay, even, I'm bubbly and all of that, but everybody goes through something. Okay, we wouldn't have a testimony if we didn't go through tests. So we cannot be driven by our emotions. We can't be driven by our emotions. We have to stay intact. We got to say, this is what I'm facing, but it's okay. I'm not driven by my emotions. I'm driven by my faith. I know I'm going to get through this. This is not the end of the world. So you talk to yourself if you have to. Look, I'm the only child. So I'll tell people in a minute, I know how to talk to myself. I know how to respond. I did all of that. When you're an only child, when you played in the house, right? I was the teacher. I was the student. I was the parent. I had to play all the parts because I didn't have nobody else to play with me, right? And so if you have to do that, balance your emotions. Actually, see a therapist if it's something that of a greater need for you, but make sure you are not moving off of emotion. We want to move soundly. We want our faith to lead us and guide us. And so, and then that'll just help us see when you make decisions, permanent decisions off of temporary emotions, you're going to find yourself lacking in the peace area, right? Because you may have made a decision, you were all upset and you were all emotional and you just went off on somebody. And then now you're like, oh, that was my boss I went off on, right? I need this job. But if you would have just bridled your tongue, maybe if you had to go to the bathroom and been like, whew, pray, do whatever you have to do to calm yourself down. So we want to make sure we are not driven by our emotions by setting up better boundaries. Setting better boundaries and being honest with ourselves, knowing what the difference between wants and needs. I'll even say this. I remember I did like a seminar or something for people that wanted to buy a house really, really bad. So if you want to buy a house, within a year's time, join, come out to this workshop. And one of the things I challenged them with, and maybe I'll do that again. I don't know. You guys could tell me in the chat if it's something that you guys would be interested in, because I could do it virtually. And I had challenged them, a lot of times when you're trying to save for a house, it's difficult, right? Rent is high, and it's just like, okay, well, where I'm going to save or how much I'm going to save, is it going to make a dent, right? And I said, okay, we're going to track our expenses, right? We're going to see where our money is going. And then once you see where your money is going, then we're going to create a budget and tell our money where to go. Not that it's just going haphazardly, like we are making a conscious decision. But one of those things is, I said, look, I want you're serious about buying this home. Everybody's like, yes, yes, I'm serious. And I said, I want you um to talk to all your family and friends, and I don't want you to be sad about it. I want you to be excited. I want you to say, you know what, I am super excited. I went to this seminar. I'm getting ready to buy a house, and I just want to let you know, this year, I love you guys, but birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, I gotta cut them out, because I'm serious about this, right? I'm serious about, I've got to save. I want to buy this house. I want to get a nice down payment. I need some closing costs. Like, I want to position myself to be able to have some money in the bank so I can buy a house. And so I said, I want you to go, and I want you to be excited, because it's not a sad thing. Right. But I was saying, this is one of the examples of how you set better boundaries. I said, look, you do this. You'd be surprised how some family members or friends, right? Maybe they already have a house, and they'll realize they can, empathize with you. Like, oh yeah, I know it was rough. I had to save for 5 years or whatever they had to do to get in their house. Or I did down payment assistance programs, got those too. But we have to participate in what we want to do. Remember, faith without works is dead. So I said, tell them about the new boundary you got to set, right? I didn't call it boundary at the time, but I said, your new goal, you're going to buy this house. So guess what? A Christmas, birthday, all these special days where I would maybe go all out and buy gifts this year, and maybe next year, I'm not going to be able to do it because I got a goal. And I say, you'd be surprised. Now, if they say, well, if you don't buy me a gift, I'm not going to buy you a gift, that's totally fine, right? You got to accept that. But I said, you'd be surprised the money that's going out, and you're blowing it. I don't want to say blowing it, because you're getting something for people that you care about. But you are now setting boundaries like, this is more important. I really, really, really want to buy a house. I really, really believe that God can allow me to do it. So guess what? I'm going to set this boundary. So, and maybe one of the boundaries, like I say, you may eat out 3 times a week, whether it's lunch for work or whatever, but you may say, you know what, I'm only going to do it once. I'm going to pick that day. The rest of the day, I'm getting groceries and I'm cooking at home. Okay. So whatever it is, I kind of went long on that. I got 2 more for you to help us build, keep our house in order. Sorry. To help us transition well and keep our house in order. The 6th thing is to strengthen your structure, right? Schedule, have a schedule. Have a schedule. I know I try to stay on schedule. I try to have great time management. I'm still a work in progress. I don't always do it right, but strengthen your structure. Have the right people in place to advise you, right? Whether you have the right accountant, whether you have the right uh, uh, mentor, you have the right coach, you have the right people around you to do life with. You have a great prayer partner, because some days it's going to be difficult. Some days you may be applying for a job, right? And you've applied for 5 of them. You didn't get no call. You didn't get no email. You didn't get anything. And it can be tough and it can be daunting. But if you have the right structure around, you got the right people that, look, if I call Stephanie and say, oh gosh, Stephanie, like I'm on my 8th application And I hope this time they call me. If you have the right people around you, they'll encourage you and say, you know what, just keep on keeping on. The right job, you're going to land the right job at the perfect time. But in the meantime, you're doing the work, and then you just ask God if there's something that you need to change on your resume or tweak it. You would talk to Dr. Lysa about that. But whatever it is, strengthen your structure. Make sure you got the right people around you, right? Stick to timelines. If you have timeline, like I want to get this done, I want to get that done, set a goal or a timeline and do your best to stick to it. Now, the last thing I want to share, I think I almost be ending right on time. Try not to let this go more than 30 minutes, is welcome wise guys guidance. Welcome. You know what? People have gone through things before you. They've made mistakes that you don't have to make if you just welcome wise guidance. You hear me? I often tell this story that because of what I went through when I went to college, and I went to a private institution, and yeah, I got my degree, but I was in all this student loan debt. And so they had promised me I would, that they had companies that were partnered with the school and they would hire you, all of that, right? That didn't happen. I didn't get a job in the field that I graduated in. I have a degree in accounting. So that didn't happen. And so I lived through that. I know, to have that experience. So if anybody else remotely is talking anything about college and school and this and that, that I went through something so I can help prevent them from not going through it. I'll close with this. I knew a person, their child had a criminal record. They had a criminal record. They had gotten out and they were going to school. And I think they were going to school in the medical field. And they were super excited. Bright young lady, just messed up, went off of emotions at a particular time and got herself in trouble. So anyways, she was super excited. She was going to the school to get a medical certificate or degree and everything. And so I told the parent, I said, look, I know she's super excited, but I know she has a criminal background. Would you kindly pass on this information? Because I didn't know how to contact her. I said, have her call different companies that she would apply for and ask them, would they hire her with this background? I said, have her do that, because schools will tell you, oh, yes, we have, because that was told to me, oh, we have companies, they'll hire you and all of this stuff, and they'll promise you the world only to get you to go to their school, take out student loans. Yes, you'll finish. Yes, you'll have a degree. Yes, you'll have a certificate. But guess what? You can't get a job because they're not going to hire you because you have a background. Well, never pass on the information. Child never knew that because they did not welcome wise guidance, right? And I find out later she finished the school, but guess what? Couldn't get a job. It was a total waste of time. Total waste of time, because I don't know how long that stays on your record and all of that. Total waste of time. And consequently had to move to cheaper standard of living. Couldn't even stay in California anymore. I say all that to say, welcome wise guidance. See, if they would have welcomed and appreciated the walk that I went through, right? The exorbitant amount of student loans, the lack of immediate hire in my field, because the school couldn't guarantee that an employer was going to hire me, but I didn't know that. I was young, I wasn't thinking that way, but they didn't welcome wise guidance. And so she went through a situation, and she went through a dilemma, and I don't want to say crisis, but she went through something that caused pain, both emotional. It cost her a lot of money. Now she's in debt to this, she has student loan debt. She went through all of this and she didn't have to. Why? Because I have went through it. So course, we don't take guidance from everyone, but ask God to bring you amazing people in your circle, right? Strengthen your structure, strengthen the people around you, and welcome their wise guidance. Listen, you don't take your car to the mechanic and then tell him how to do his job, right? You trust that God's going to send you to the right mechanic. He's going to look at your car. He's going to know what's wrong with it, and he's not going to take advantage of you. We have to welcome wise guidance from the people that God puts in our path, and that'll help us again transition well and keep our house in order. Transition well and keep our house in order when we face a financial situation. So that's it. Prayerfully you got something out of the broadcast this evening. Hopefully you got something out of the broadcast this evening. Like I say, we all are going to go through seasons. Okay. We specifically talk about if you've had, a loss of income due to like a death, divorce, illness, injury, layoff, or natural disaster, and you're transitioning from one job to the next, and you're trying to stay focused and not lose everything behind losing your job, right? And trying to keep your house in order all in the same time. We talk about that. But you want to just make sure our recap is, face the financial facts, right? Don't ignore them. The second thing is you want to scan and sort your situation. Look at what you're dealing with. Look at what you're dealing with. You want to prioritize what's important in life. Prioritize, right? You want to clear out the clutter, both physically and financially. You want to build better boundaries. So whatever your goals are, there's people always vying for your time. And every day you wake up, there's always someone that's trying to get money out of your pocket to theirs. Always remember that. Every day, every second of the day, there's always somebody trying to get money out of your pocket to theirs. Make sure you build better boundaries. And then strengthen your structure, the people around you, those who are giving you prayerfully wise counsel, and then welcome the wise guidance. Welcome it, welcome it, welcome it. Because there are some things you don't have to go through if you would just welcome and receive what they went through. They heartache. Now, their outcome doesn't have to be your outcome, but at least take it into consideration. Okay. All right. We will be back here again. We missed Dr. Lysa tonight, but we'll be back here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. all about trying to help you, transition if you've, lost your job, having to start a new career, or just fighting through maybe starting a new job or whatever. And then also making sure you hold on to what you got, right? Hold on to those assets. So we'll be back here Wednesday at 7 p.m. And for those who catch me in the morning at 7 a.m. Monday through Friday, I'll be on for Audacious Living in the morning. Okay. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I want you to have a blessed day. Bye.